As many of you know, my family spent this past summer relocating from Essex, Connecticut to Seattle. We were returning home as we had moved from Seattle to Connecticut only 4 years ago. It's truly wonderful to be back for so many reasons. But I want to talk about the nightmare of moving a family of 4, plus 1 grandparent, 1 very large dog, a medium-sized lizard, more than 3,000 miles. It was a lot. We spent weeks going through our house, packing endless boxes and readying for the move. We donated carloads to a local thrift store charity. We sold a number of items on Facebook Marketplace. We gave away things to our neighbors. And still, we ended up moving thousands and thousands of pounds of stuff. When the moving van pulled away that last day in Connecticut, I remember looking around our beautiful, empty house. We were left with 4 small suitcases, a cooler full of snacks, a few backpacks, a dog bed, a couple of towels, 4 humans, 1 large dog, and a Subaru Outback. Despite all of the planning and preparation, the culling of our belongings and narrowing down the road trip items to just the bare essentials, it still felt like so much stuff. So we set out on our 11-day cross-country journey with the car crammed full. The road trip was long and boring, hot and crowded, at times stressful and occasionally joyful. In retrospect, we agree that it was a good experience and we never want to do that again. We also concur that for our dog, named Molly Moon, it was the best 11 days of her life. But think about it. Dogs don't care about stuff. All they need is a little dog food, some water, love, and attention. So Molly walked out of that house, the only house she had ever known, wearing only a collar with her name on it. And she ran to jump in the car because her people were inside. And she repeated that over nearly 4,000 miles and many days, happy as could be, because she had the people she loves with her. We can learn a lot from our pets. We can also learn a lot from Saint Francis, whom we remember this day. Francis was born in the late 12th century in the Italian hill town of Assisi. And I was surprised to read this week that Francis only lived 44 years. And yet he leaves behind this incredibly powerful legacy. Today's gospel reading from Luke, often referred to as the parable of the rich fool, is chosen specifically for the observation of the feast of St. Francis because of its theme: simplicity and detachment from materialism. Francis renounced the wealth of his family of origin, and he chose a life of poverty. Now, to be clear, in this sermon, I'm not saying that we should donate everything we have to the church and all begin sleeping outside together in the courtyard. But what I am saying is that we maybe ought to reassess our relationship with material possessions, focusing on needs rather than wants, and finding joy in simplicity. Francis is most commonly remembered for his love of nature and animals. It's why we've invited people to bring their pets to the 11 a.m. service to be blessed today. It's also why our Sunday school kids right now are out in the St. Francis garden, out in the courtyard, learning about St. Francis's life this morning. So you might still be wondering why churches embrace Francis. Why do churches go so far as to invite people to bring their pets to church on this day? It's a good question. We think about other saints. We don't commemorate St. Simeon Stylites the Elder by imitating his unusual practice of sitting atop a tall pillar for months at a time. We don't imitate St. Catherine of Siena with severe fasting and eating only bitter herbs in addition to the communion wafer. But for some reason, we have an affinity for St. Francis and remember him annually. Francis's lasting attributes, which we do want to emulate, include his desire for simplicity, non-attachment to worldly goods, humility, a profound love of God, and respect for nature, especially our relationships with our pets. Francis reminds us that we are part of creation. We are not over creation, we are part of it. We are co-creators with God. Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem in today's reading when someone in the crowd says, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." First, Jesus responds saying, "Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. For one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Then he tells them this parable. The rich fool in Jesus' parable is not foolish because he has wealth. He is foolish because he allows his wealth to control him. He is enslaved to his possessions, building bigger and bigger barns and pretending life is a race to acquire the most goods, instead of an opportunity to love God and serve our neighbor. My dog reminds me of these things. She doesn't care what she does have or what she doesn't have. Molly Moon is my shadow at home or at work. She follows me around, bumping into the back of my leg, lurking in doorways and sleeping at my feet. Molly Moon teaches me about the love God has for me through her unconditional acceptance and devotion. She loves me because I love her, and she absolutely does not care how much stuff we have or where we live. She just wants to be with her people. I was going to say, I imagine a lot of you have similar relationships with your pets, but you're at the 8:45 today without your pets, so maybe not so much. But maybe you have in the past, or maybe you do and you didn't want to wrestle your dog in the pew today, and that's okay. In the spirit of St. Francis, this day serves as a reminder that we should focus on the things that are eternal: love, compassion, generosity, our relationship with God. Ask yourself this question: are my possessions owning me, or am I owning my possessions? If your possessions are owning you, driving your decisions, causing harm to the relationships in your life, or getting in the way of your relationship with God, perhaps it is time to let them go. As we reflect on the teachings of St. Francis and the parable of the rich fool, let us remember that our true wealth lies not in our possessions, but in our relationships with God, with each other, and with all of creation. Like Molly the Bernedoodle, who found a joy simply in being with her loved ones, during our cross-country move. Perhaps we too can find contentment in simplicity and love. So this week, I challenge each of you to examine your relationship with your possessions. Are they serving you, or are you serving them? And let us all strive to live more like St. Francis, embracing simplicity, showing compassion to all creatures, and focusing on what truly matters. In doing so, we may find ourselves not only lighter in possessions, but richer in spirit.